Hello and welcome. Our top story is from the Democratic Republic of Congo. The M23 rebels have agreed to withdraw from DRC's Uvira. The group said that it has decided to withdraw from the key DRC city at the request of the United States. Last week, the Rwanda-backed M23 rebels captured Uvira barely a week after US President Donald Trump brokered a peace deal between DRC and Rwanda. Trump dubbed the peace deal as the Washington Accords. The M23 rebels were not signatories to Trump's deal. They have been taking part in a parallel peace process led by Qatar, which is a US ally. Last week, the Trump administration reacted to M23's advances in Uvira and accused its alleged backer Rwanda of violating the Washington Accords. The US vowed to ensure that promises made to President Trump are kept. It seems that Washington's warning to Rwanda and the M23 has worked, because the rebels have agreed to exit Uvira. The group has called for the implementation of a ceasefire deal agreed to in Doha last month. The rebels said that they were withdrawing from Uvira to give the Doha Peace Process every chance to succeed. The key DRC town lies in South Kivu province, near the border with Burundi. The rebels said they have captured hundreds of Burundian soldiers in their latest offensive in eastern DRC. Burundi has been a natural ally of DRC for years because of its enmity with Rwanda. Both have accused Rwanda of backing rebel groups seeking to overthrow their respective governments. Burundi's government fears that if the M23 cements its presence in South Kivu, it would strengthen a Burundian rebel group called Red Tabara. Back in January, the M23 captured two of the biggest cities in eastern DRC, Goma and Bukavu. Since then, the rebels have been trying to establish a parallel administration in the east. The conflict in DR Congo is one of the wars that Donald Trump has vowed to end. Earlier this month, when the presidents of DRC and Rwanda signed a peace deal in Washington, it raised hope among the Congolese people that the conflict is nearing its end. Trump hailed the deal as a miracle, but the latest clashes have yet again made it clear that it might not be easy for peace to return to a region which has been marred by 3 decades of deadly conflict. For now, the M23 might have heeded to warnings from the Trump administration and decided to pull back from Uvira. But for how long can Washington's warnings stop the fighting in eastern DRC from getting any worse? And for more on this, we have with us Dr. Olawole Ajawale, a regional coordinator for Central Africa at the Institute for Security Studies in Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for joining us and welcome to Firstpost Africa.
Thank you so much for having me.
Do you think that the M23 withdrawal of Uvira is a real turning point in this conflict, and could it lead to real peace?
Well, I think it depends on how much of that implementation of the peace deal that America is able to also back up with force and diplomacy. And the reason is simple. We've seen this in other parts of the world where American intervention has been involved or is probably going on. It's not just about signing peace deal in Washington. America has directly intervened, even in terms of security guarantee and peace negotiation and peace building, whether it is in Ukraine or it is in Gaza and the Middle East now. So I believe so strongly that this is what we have campaigned for over the years in terms of intervention of the big powers in trying to resolve the crisis in DRC. So if they do withdraw as they promise, that might be the first step in trying to normalize peace agreements in the region. But the big picture will be what do they want to do with those catchments that they already have in their pockets, which are the South and North Kivu provinces.
Yes, and Dr. Ojawale, we know, of course, during this signing between the leaders of DRC and Rwanda, there was also deals with the US relating to rare earths. How pivotal do you think Trump and his administration are in achieving peace in the eastern DRC, especially if they have an interest in the region?
Yes, I think as peace negotiation is going on, we're also seeing a dimension of extractive diplomacy, which I think is characteristic of what Trump is considered as an overarching objective anywhere he's getting involved. because at the core of everything is the deal that comes to America in the context of that peace agreement. But business cannot really flourish. American enterprises who probably have interest in the rare earths, metals, gold, diamonds, and minerals, and cobalt and coltan of DRC can only thrive in doing business in an atmosphere of peace. And the Eastern DRC is about the most endowed spots of that country. So I think America, the President Trump, might want to do everything possible within his power to ensure that the peace agreement stands. But the jury is not yet out, because we can't really say much until we see that withdrawal. But like I mentioned in my earlier intervention, the big fish that needs to be fried now is what happens in the big cities of Bukavu and Goma, where M23 has sacked legitimate government and then occupying the territory.
Yes, and I want to finish by looking more broadly now. We know that Rwanda, M23 rebels, DRC and Burundi are involved directly in this conflict. How important is it for regional stability that this war is ended as soon as possible?
I think the risk of escalation is high now, looking at how the trajectory of the conflict, particularly with bordering the surrounding countries. And it is in the interest of the entire systems, societies, and polities in the Great Lakes region that the escalation is actually avoided, and then they truly de-escalate to ensure that the conflict is confined, and rather than pouring gasoline into the fire, but to be part of the peace-building architecture that is going to guarantee long-term peace in the region for obvious reasons. One, that corridor presents the trade corridor through which significant trade with the Democratic Republic of Congo passes through Tanzania, Burundi, Uganda, and to other parts of the world. So it's very, very important for the country and for the trade partners that are also interested in rare earths and other essential minerals that are produced in the DRC. It is in their interest that the entire region is safe, is free of war, free of civil conflict, so that the lifeline of the economy, which is the trade that proceeds around that region, can thrive, and then people can actually live in a very safe environment. I think what is going to be important here is the role that Uganda and Burundi choose to play. But much more than that is the role of the regional economic community, the EAC, that should see to the implementation of those agreements. And then America, which is a big player here, like I've mentioned on this program before, need to really establish deterrence. And you do that not only on paper, but by supporting peacekeeping mission in any way that they are going to put the boat and the artillery on the ground to guarantee security for the civilians and to deter opposing forces from escalating the conflict.
Yes, absolutely. Much for us to continue monitoring in this region of the world on Firstpost Africa. Thank you ever so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
They promised glory. They delivered fear. They shaped nations. They scarred generations. From brutal purges to propaganda machines, from stolen power to violent falls from the throne. Welcome to The Dictator, a series that strips away the myth and then exposes the men behind the tyranny. History remembers their power. Firstpost reveals their truth.